All right, so we're discussing adaptability in terms of business, right? Your favorite topic, no?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it.
All right, well, so Dan already did this on his own for his own personal
And
podcast.
I forgot what I said, so I'm a fresh slate.
Well, that's good. You may have some twists and turns that were not on the original.
Might refine some things on there. Yeah.
There you go. All right, so adaptability in my mind. So just to define the term would be able to, okay, I'm not looking it up here. I'm just out of my own thoughts. It would be ability to change direction or course depending on what lies ahead of you, right? And that's just in general. Now, in terms of business, is this important? Right? So if you're new to business and you're going to start a business, you need to be adaptable, or do you think you have everything already figured out starting a business, right? I think that's a very key consideration. Even those who I would say have been in the industry for a very long time, um, and Dan and I, we both know research best of all businesses. We encounter many people that have been in the industry for 20 years, are somewhat of a specialist in the specific area. I'm thinking CRA. Uh, these are people that are kind of similar to an IRS agent, for those of you who do not know, in
Their
terms of,
auditor, basically.
yeah, they're an auditor. They are given the dynamics of what they're to review, and they're to make sure it in this case would be a protocol, and make sure that it's in line with that protocol. As an IRS agent, make sure that whatever's been claimed on the tax form is all accountable. Same thing for a CRA in terms of research. So these individuals oftentimes think they know everything there is to know about research, but when they take on the task of starting a business of their own, a site, right? Which is a little different than what they do, though they know all of the, I guess, macro of the research, right? They don't understand it from research from the site perspective. So they need to be adaptable. And oftentimes they're not, which is very funny to me
Hmm.
in my dealings with CRAs. This is just a tangent for Dan. But yeah, you can be structured, but at the same time, you need to be adaptable because you're not going to have everything accounted for oftentimes. And then what happens when you're hit with a curveball, right? Um, some regulation, a new law, right? And this applies to all industries, just not research. I can tell you firsthand here in California, there's a lot of regulation, and businesses need to be adaptable for whatever changes come through or down the pipeline due to governance. I mean, it could be any number of things that require adaptability. What are your thoughts?
I think when I did this for my part of the book on this topic, Mike Tyson is the one that stuck out the most. I mean, he
Tell,
encapsulated
tell,
it well.
tell you're punched in the face?
Yeah, everyone has a plan till you get punched in the face. And what happens after that is the adaptability skill.
Well, okay, so
Because you're gonna get punched. So what do? Do you just quit, take a knee, fight's over? Do you let yourself get knocked out? Do you come back and reassess your plan in the middle of combat? Which business is combat? It's 24/7, 365.
or sales or both. So uh, that's a great example outside of the fact that it's Mike Tyson, because I don't think you're getting back into the battle if Mike Tyson is the one that punches you in the face, right? It's over.
Well, he was speaking more about himself in that quote.
Sure, sure. But there are situations where you may not be able to come back in terms
Mhm.
of your initial business, right? I guess Mike Tyson could be a proper example. I mean, again, looking at it from a research perspective, if your PI has an FDA audit for a study and say they have no PI oversight and additionally there's fraud all over the place,
Mm.
right? You're probably done in terms of that business, right? You're probably going to have to start another, I would assume, either you're going to have to find another PI and or you're going to have to change your business name, right? Because everything's been tainted. I don't know. You think that's a fair comparison?
Well, I
Is
mean,
there no
that's,
adapting to that? Is there no overcoming that? Right? Because I think there are situations in business where you can't overcome what you're facing.
oh yeah, you can make, you can make mistakes that you can never recover from in that business. So messing with the FDA is one,
Hmm.
but I think most people when they start, I think where this adaptability thing comes into play is not on those irreparable mistakes. It's on the little things that they're stubborn about
Yeah, I would
that they
agree.
refuse to change.
I'm just going under your analogy of Mike Tyson. Now, in terms of starting a business, yeah, absolutely. There's going to be things you haven't considered. Um, you're going to face challenges, and it could be any number of things depending on the industry you find yourself in, starting a business. Um, maybe you're a restaurant, maybe you have great food, but the word's not out yet, so you're slow, right? Did you count? Were you ready for this? And if you didn't put any thought into it other than, I have great food, we'll be overwhelmed. Well, now you have to start thinking about marketing, right? How are you going to market your product? And it could be any number of different industries in which you face similar situations.
Yeah, well, there's something else that when I did my part of this book, I talked about companies that refuse to pivot when they have to. So it's,
Blockbuster.
yeah, Blockbuster, Circuit City. Um, I mean, those are the perfect examples. But those are later on in the game. Like that's when they are already successful and they're
Mm-hmm.
refusing to be adaptable, which is at least you've gained market share at some point and made money for people. But there are things in the beginning when you're starting out, you'll get signs right away of, hey, this is gonna work or this is not gonna work. And I think I used the example of there was a site owner that wanted to, I think you used it, wanted to do a research site inside a pharmacy and never thought it through,
Yep.
and they just refused to listen to the market and to look at other companies. Because in business, we talked about this in other chapters, but there's there's the brand new businesses that are like they have no proof of concept, and then there's the businesses that essentially you can just replicate what other businesses have done before you and just maybe do it better or do it a little different. Um, and there's something to be said about being adaptable there, where maybe the market's showing you something you don't want to see, but you need to move on it because at the end of the day, it's not really what you want, it's what the market wants. It's not like you can be stubborn and do what you want and make less profit, I guess, is fine. That's actually, I respect people that do that.
But maybe they
There-
make more, right? Maybe their stubbornness pays off, right? They have a
Yeah,
product the industry's not accepting, but eventually, once they have their proof of concept,
yeah.
maybe the industry says, "Oh, we overlooked this."
Well, you usually see that, the stubbornness when it works at the ultra premium price points.
Hmm.
So, maybe it's never been done before, like just to move away from research and talk about cookies. There's a business that's done really well. It's called Cookie Connection. I don't know the name. We'll have to look it up for the actual book.
Is this the place that I used to go with you in Irvine?
No, there's another one. They became really big. It's not Sprinkles, it was another one.
Was
But
that the name of the place? Sprinkles? Sorry.
yeah, but basically one of these companies was stubborn enough to say, well, we're gonna make premium cookies and like charge like $10 a cookie.
Hmm.
People th think that's ridiculous. Like you be stubborn and do that all you want. The market's telling you that's not the case. And they're like, well, we know it's the case because we like these kind of cookies. And we know
Mhm.
there must be others like us. So they did it, and lo and behold, it worked. So
Successful.
that's an example of not being adaptable and doing well because the market was telling them initially, hey, well, I guess that's the key distinction. The market was not telling them that, other people were telling them that. And other people were telling them that in the form of other businesses, which can appear to be the market, but it's not actually the market.
You'll know the answer to this. How did MySpace fail? I mean, they're still around, but nothing like they were 'cause they were the predominant social media page, right? Then Facebook took
Yeah.
over. Do you know the story behind that? Because I don't.
There's a lot of reasons why they failed, other than Facebook, college crowd, and
Mhm.
Facebook, I think it was Facebook got more critical mass faster and had a simpler product because MySpace would have allow people to have a bunch of stuff on their page, and it would create like a bad user experience at a certain point because you go to someone's page and your computer crashes because like all this shit's popping up, whereas Facebook would control what you
Like
actually see.
what you could put on there
Mm.
as the
And
user owner of the page.
Yeah, so I think it was more from a technical
Okay.
standpoint why Facebook won, like the user experience. But yeah, MySpace was first. And I mean, I know this book's coming out during the middle of the beginning of the AI boom, but I think ChatGPT is gonna be the next MySpace. I'll put that
And
in
who
on record.
and who will be Facebook?
It's gonna be Gemini or Grok.
Hmm. So ChatGPT was first,
Yeah.
but ultimately they'll be last.
I think they're gonna have a hard time getting better and better. So with AI, in order to get orders of magnitude better, after a certain point, you have to start spending money that doesn't make sense, that they don't have, and they don't have another business to monetize. Google has dozens.
Does
You and I both
sure. Does
invest in
Grok
Google.
though?
Grok has Elon.
True.
And Grok, eventually, Elon has said he wants to merge SpaceX with X, with Grok, with Tesla, because he wants the AI to power not just the AI for the robots, but the AI
Sure,
for,
everything.
yeah. So
So what if that would
those are pretty powerful, like deep pockets right there.
certainly. Yeah, certainly. Okay, so
That's a
so
tangent, but
no, I was just curious why my MySpace failed. I thought it was relevant to our conversation. Um,
they didn't adapt. I mean, when Facebook, so here's the other reason. Facebook invented the news feed.
right.
So MySpace just had profile pages. So if you wanted to go to someone's profile, okay, I haven't seen Chris in a while. Let me see what he's up to. Oh, here's his page. Wow, he's got a bunch of GIFs. He likes Corvettes and guns. Cool. My computer's running a little slower now. Let me get off of his page and go somewhere else. So I click on like one of your related people because that's how you would navigate MySpace. And
Mhm.
like I would probably see Julie or I might see Lee Eifler, somebody in your contacts. All right, let me click on theirs. That was
Mhm.
just how you navigated.
Okay.
Facebook came up with the feed where whoever posted more recently at that time,
Mhm.
now it's the feed is
Of your
of
contacts.
your contacts. Today, 2 decades later, the feed is actually not even your contacts, don't even matter anymore. It's the algorithm, what they think you'd like.
Right.
But back then,
You're being fed.
yeah, but back then, Facebook basically invented the social graph. So
Mhm.
let's just put that as the home screen, and then they just read whatever is most relevant, like most recent. MySpace didn't have that, didn't want to do that. They thought, no, people don't want to see that. They just want to click their friends and rearrange the order of their friends on their page
Okay.
and message each other. And so, yeah, that's basically a better product at the end of the day.
So I guess a subcomponent of adaptability be recognizing when you are unable to adapt to a market. And because I believe Facebook offered to buy MySpace, right? At some point.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I'm pretty
I
sure they
remember
did.
Yahoo.
Somebody offered to buy MySpace.
I remember Yahoo was gonna buy Facebook, and Mark Zuckerberg turned down like $2 billion. And I remember reading that headline. I was like, this dude is crazy to like turn that down. And now look at Meta, trillion-dollar company.
Well,
Um,
sorry, but
yeah, I mean, he wasn't crazy.
I had that reversed. Facebook was offered to MySpace
Huh? Yeah.
for 75 million in 2005. Boy, they screw up.
Yeah. And you know who screwed up like on social media, who completely missed social media was Google.
Mhm,
Google tried to do Google Plus, it was called.
mhm,
But I guess they made up for it by purchasing YouTube, which was in a way a social network, but not really. But you give them a pass for missing the social media stuff because of YouTube, which at the time when they bought YouTube, it was another like couple $1 billion purchase. Everyone thought they were crazy
mhm. I
when Google
remember
bought
that.
them.
I
Like, why
remember
would
that.
you? Now it's like their most valuable asset.
Next to Gemini.
Well, Gemini's up and coming, but YouTube now is like, besides search,
Sure.
it's the second largest search engine in the world is YouTube.
Hmm.
Did you know what the third largest search engine in the world is? Fun facts.
Yahoo. I don't know.
Nope, Amazon.
Oh, makes sense.
Yep.
I think I heard that somewhere actually.
Yeah.
All right. So we both came up with this criteria, right, for a successful business person to incorporate, right? Adaptability being one of them.
Yes. Did you say
Okay.
Amazon's better than silver?
No, I didn't say
Oh, okay. Thought I heard you say it.
that. So,
Bad
inside story.
Wi-Fi. Bad Wi-Fi.
Inside story there. So, Dan's just screwing with me. So anyhow, why is adaptability important? And I'll go ahead and start this. So
But yeah, you do
again,
that, and I got something interesting I'm gonna take the other side of it. But yeah, go ahead.
okay. So i- in my opinion, not always, but you're more likely to fail if you cannot change direction, right? So if you're faced with a problem and this problem makes you have to rethink your position and choose an alternate course.
Mm,
If you're unable to do that because you're stubborn, whatever the case might be, you're probably setting yourself up for failure, right? You have to be able to adapt, right? And I can give you a ton of examples in research. A little harder to do just in general in business. But if you're faced with a situation in which um, it seems insurmountable, well, maybe you're approaching it incorrectly,
yeah.
right? So you have to rethink and adapt.
I mean, I violated this principle when early in my career with my research site. So
Mhm,
I started doing my site in 2005 and I was expanding and the business was going well. And then the great financial crisis came, but I was too young to appreciate and respect the magnitude of what's happening. And so I just kept expanding into it. And not just one new site, two new sites. I
mhm.
was like, yeah, it doesn't matter. The market's they're telling me like, well, now may not be the time to expand when the market's contracting, but I was like, whatever, it doesn't matter. Look at what I've done in 4 years. So it's not gonna stop me. And it definitely did stop me.
Well,
It
you would
stopped me the hard way.
well you adapt. So you showed adaptability after you'd already made the mistake. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily think the mistake is adaptability, right? You had to adapt thereafter. I don't think you
Yes.
I don't think you went against, I mean, you kind of did, but if the marketplace is showing you there's going to be a slowdown, then you need to kind of
I need to
change
adapt
change your
and not
approach.
expand in a downturn. I should actually let some people go. And I did
Mhm.
the opposite. But that brings us to an interesting thing that we haven't touched on in any of this yet, which is, and this is what AI can't do. So I know you're
Mhm.
listening, AI, right now. Shame on you. You will never be human. I rebuke you.
AGI, human.
You will never be human because what we're doing is connecting neurons that you don't have. So let's say you make a mistake and you don't adapt. Okay, the market tells you something, you don't adapt.
Well, then you're going out of business.
Sure, but that's a micro mistake.
Hmm.
The beautiful thing about business, it's similar to life. It actually doesn't end until it really ends. So you may have made a mistake. You might have not adapted when you should have and made a mistake, but now you can readapt, but it's going to be a different action most likely. So if your initial mistake was to cut spending and you increase spending, the way you rebound from that is not necessarily to cut spending again. But what I did was I was able to withstand that for like a year or two because we had cash in the bank.
Hmm.
But I flipped it into, and that's where I discovered you can have unlock a new business stream by just partnering with someone instead of making them your employee. So that was like in the macro sense, an adaptation, which I ended up partnering with you
Hmm.
on a site instead of having you as an employee that, I mean, I didn't want to lay off. You know what I mean? There's a bigger concept here. Like, even if you don't adapt when you should,
Hmm.
there's still actions later if you can survive to where you can recover and sometimes recover better than you would have been initially. And sometimes those mistakes become your biggest assets, like making lemonade when life gives you lemons.
Sure. I completely agree. I mean,
I
if you're
just
not
don't know
out
how to
of
articulate that, but
Sure, if you're not out of business, you still have breath, right? Your
yes,
company is still alive. You just need to figure out, hey, what's my way out of here, right?
yes,
I'm in the red. I'd like to be in the black.
yes.
How do I get there,
And
right?
something interesting happens. If we're going to stick to the boxing analogy, when Muhammad Ali was on the ropes, doing rope-a-dope, and like everyone thought he's losing. And
Hmm.
like maybe initially we don't know, he never talked about it, as far as I'm aware. Maybe
Hmm.
he didn't like the way those first two rounds went, and he used the rest of that fight to figure out what he's gonna do next.
You changed the strategy.
Yeah, but during those three, four, five, six, seven, 8 rounds, he's just like figuring things out. That's kind of like me weathering that storm after the great financial crisis. And then once you figure it out, all right, I need to just stick through this a little bit longer. But now you're formulating your plan, and then boom, you come out of that, and you're able to pull something off that otherwise you wouldn't have been able to just by giving yourself more time. And I don't know where time fits into adaptability, but I think time has something to do with all of these virtues.
Well, you can have unlimited time. You usually don't have unlimited resources. So there
Yeah.
is an equation there that there's a formula there in which time is an enemy, right?
Yeah, yeah, we did talk about that actually, where you can make time your ally or your enemy.
Yep.
It's a
Because
money agnostic.
sure, but you can't be entirely money agnostic because if you're not concerned about your well-being in terms of financials, you can wind up going out of business specifically for that reason. And 80% of all businesses fail for that reason,
Yeah,
primarily. It's financial.
yeah, yeah,
So you really have to put all these different components together, in my opinion, to be successful.
for
And
sure.
if you don't have all five, well, you better really be cognizant of where you lack. And when approached with a situation in which one of these five that you're lacking in, um, you better really take your time and think it through, right? If it's not something that, like, for example, we're going to get into personality traits, right? I would think
ENFPs unite.
exactly. So I would think, depending on your personality traits, you're going to be more prone to some of these
Hmm.
five that we're discussing, right? That these will just be natural for you to recognize and deal with. Whereas some of these will not be intrinsic to you as a person, right?
Hmm.
So you have to be cognizant of what you're lacking in, right? From your certain personality types, and then make sure and find an approach that won't be detrimental to you to deal with one of those areas or two or three of those areas in which you're lacking.
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
Would you not agree? I
No, I
mean,
agree.
adaptive for you. So it's funny. It's good that you brought up that example because for you, I think adaptive is not a strong suit initially. I think it's not a strong suit for you until faced with a problem,
Yeah.
right? In terms of, oh, I screwed up here. All right, now I really have to hone in on what did I do here and how do I get out of it, right?
Yeah.
So I've dealt with Dan for a long time. We used to call him a bullshit artist because
Well, thanks.
that was a strong suit for Dan. But it was
Thanks.
specifically for this reason, I think, right? I think sometimes he would
Yeah.
be like, okay, that's not important. Just do it this way. Let's get it done. And then that would be a problem. So now you got to figure out how do I get out of this problem,
Yeah.
right? So initially not adaptive in terms of really
Yeah.
just move forward in that direction. This is how I've always done it. Then now I have to rethink this,
Which,
right?
if it works, you don't need to adapt. But then if it doesn't, then you
Yeah,
get your face punched in for a little bit while you're figuring things out.
exactly.
It doesn't feel good to get your face punched in, but I think to some extent it's good for you. As long as
Oh,
it
no
doesn't knock
doubt.
you out.
No, it's like the saying goes, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Right. But it still would be better to avoid, some of those shots to the head when you don't need to.
Mhm.
Because they could throw you off for like a year or two from like they could derail you from your plans as well.
Yeah, and if you're a pessimist, well, you may be done at that point, right? You may not even bother trying to figure
Yeah,
it out.
right. You might go inward and say, I'm just not meant to do this. Business is not for me.
And I think a lot of people will do that.
And I think it's a mistake.
I
I
don't think
think
you,
most people can figure out business if they can figure out some of these things that we talk about.
I agree. And I don't think you need to either be a pessimist or an optimist to be in business, but I think either can hurt you,
Yeah,
right? If you're too optimistic in a situation, it can hurt you. If you're too pessimistic, it can hurt you.
it's like anything in life. You need a healthy balance.
Moderation.
It's like a yin and a yang, you know,
Mhm.
as is above, so is below. I mean, I'll save that for my philosophy book, but yeah, there's a lot there.
You're writing two books here.
No, that one's, I'm not happy with it.
Well, that's because you're just getting into philosophy. You're not a philosopher,
Yeah, no, we're all philosophers, but yeah,
are we?
well, it's not really meant to be a philosophy book per se. It just has philosophical elements.
Uh,
I think that's the problem with it. But yeah, but I'll take the other side of this. So I think it's okay to be stubborn and not want to be adaptable.
to a point. I'm sorry,
Good
I'm
point.
interrupting.
Well, no, because like Steve Jobs was only adaptable when he absolutely had to be. And that was
Hmm.
only after he got his face pounded in. And Apple was actually failing. Um, he actually was the CEO of Apple, then he got kicked out, started Next and Pixar, and then came back and saved Apple.
Hmm.
That's like the real story.
Hmm.
But he was a visionary. So the first time around, he was a visionary. He created the MacBook. He refused to partner with Microsoft. The real story is like Bill Gates didn't want to, and he didn't want to like neither one. They both had like egos where they didn't want to partner with each other. So Steve Jobs said, "No, we're going to own the entire experience. We're not going to outsource our software. We're going to own the hardware and the software." And it failed. And they damn near ran out of money. The board kicked him out. He went to use his creative, but no one could deny they were the best products, like creatively speaking. The MacBooks, they had a good strategy, give them to all the schools to get the next generation. I learned how to type on a Mac because my school got MacBooks donated from Apple. But the business didn't work. And then when he came back, he made it work. Everyone should read the Walter Isaacson book on Steve Jobs. So he had a famous saying that the customer doesn't know what they want, and like the customer is not always right. That was his famous quote. So he's basically saying fuck you to the market with that statement, and I'm not going to adapt. And it worked for him. At the time when he was running Apple, the second time, it became the world's biggest company by market cap once the iPhone hit. And he basically invented the iPhone, the smartphone. He didn't invent the real first smartphone was a Burberry or BlackBerry, but he perfected it. There's only going to be one button. There's only going to be like people thought he was crazy. Customers don't want they would tell him, "Steve, we did focus groups with 5,000 people. None of them want this." He said the customer doesn't know what they want. We're going to do this anyways. That takes some balls, man.
Oh, sure,
And
sure.
I mean, at the time they were the world's biggest company. So, but he still did adapt when he had to.
So I'm going to go off on a tangent. It doesn't really have anything to do with adaptability, maybe a little. Um, Dan's always pushing Apple products.
Push it.
I stick with the PC product. See, there you go. You can see his face.
Yeah,
So I Googled something because I don't recall why, because this was 20 years ago. Um, and the reason I like PCs is because I at the time like playing PC games, right?
right, right.
Whereas you're more a console person, I assume,
Now I'm
when
not
you
an
used to play,
anything person, but yeah, I
when you
used to
used
be
to play,
for
when you
sure.
used to play.
Only PC game was StarCraft and Warcraft. Shout
So
out to Blizzard.
so they did not make games for Mac, right? They did not make PC
No, no, no.
games
It
for Mac.
wasn't known for gaming.
Right. And the reason I was curious, why was that? And I didn't recall, but it's because, and this is due to probably what you're describing from Steve Jobs, their systems were built in such a way you could not upgrade them, right?
Yeah.
You had just had to buy a whole new one. And and the software developers did not see that as an avenue to pursue because games were always becoming more hardware
Yes.
required, and you could easily upgrade a PC, which you can.
Yeah.
I've built plenty. Um, so that's
Steve
the
Jobs.
distinction between the two.
Steve Jobs had one of the three greatest human traits that AIs can ever have, and that's taste. Having taste, even when everyone else tell them it's not gonna work.
Mhm,
And he knew that there's a large segment, the majority of people, as a matter of fact, that don't give a fuck about wanting to learn how to upgrade their shit
mhm,
or how to download the next whatever or how to install this patch and that, all that bullshit. He's like, no, no. People just want to use these things to be more productive and they want to have a good experience doing it. And we
mhm.
want them in our ecosystem by tying them into other products and getting them hooked on it.
Sure.
And so that's who he captured. And to this day, look at Apple stock today. They're ignoring AI
Mhm,
at their own detriment. They're going to partner with Gemini. This is why Google's gonna win. But they're gonna partner with Gemini. I think they signed like a $1 trillion deal or multi-billion-dollar deal, $100 billion something. But they're still, if you look at their stock, they're still living off of this ecosystem they've built, despite not being the best products necessarily right now. Um, but it's the ecosystem, the end to end is just, I will never switch. It's way too, Siri sucks on my iPhone, like horrible. I'm not gonna use, and I hate when it comes on by accident. But I'll never switch iPhone as long as I have an iMac and a laptop and everything just seamlessly works without thinking. And to me, that's a value add until someone else comes along and builds the same kind of ecosystem, which
mhm,
is going to be very hard to do because that's an incredible moat that they've built.
mhm.
And they're just going to be a dividend stock at some point.
They have dividends now, right?
Yeah, but
Apple.
like even more like GE of the back in the days.
Okay. Well, the market caps between Apple and Microsoft are very similar.
And I would put my money on Microsoft going forward just because of what they're doing with AI and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But Apple's not going to be a growth stock anymore. That's okay.
Well,
And
there's
the
not,
person they brought in is not a visionary, is he's a manager.
sure. Well, unless you're creating new products, it's kind of
Yeah.
kind of hard to grow.
Hmm.
right? It's just a matter of sustaining at this point. So is that a lack of adaptability?
I think it's a lack of vision at this point.
But is vision part of adaptability?
Nah, vision's our first virtue.
I understand that,
I
but is
think they're
it
related, but I think you need to, in order like to know whether you should adapt or not, because we gave examples of people that have and have not, you need to know your vision. So that's why vision's our first virtue.
so I don't know what Dan's philosophy is behind writing this book that we're currently writing, but mine has something to do with that book behind Dan's left shoulder. Um,
The
not
construction of social reality?
no, the one a little further back.
You know,
Not that one.
languages of Iris. You know that, right?
No, all the way back. Yes, that one.
Woo
So
woo.
so Dan and I wrote this book back in 2019,
Yes,
and
that's
at the
right.
time we had just started a new
Says it right
uh,
here.
well, no, not new. We had started a business a few years prior that was slowly increasing its revenue share.
Slowly, slowly. Yeah.
We wrote this book and things exponentially grow in terms of services that we offer.
Ah.
Um, Now I don't know if that was just coincidence, but I think it had a great deal to do with that.
Well, what did I just tell you? What's the number three biggest search engine in the world?
Sure, Amazon.
And you put a
So
clinical research on there, you're gonna get this.
so we're writing another book, at least I am, partially because of that.
Ah, no, me, I get to honestly say it has nothing to do with that.
Uh,
If
that's the
it's not, if it
main
happens, it's
reason for
nice.
me. Main
If it
reason.
happens, it's nice. Maybe the first time around that had a bigger role. This time it's almost to me negligible.
Mm.
Uh, I just think it's a book that kind of needs to be put out there for our industry.
Sure, I don't disagree with. As a matter of fact, so Dan forwarded me a text from a fan, um,
A
and
fanboy.
yeah, and said, "Is there anything here?"
He said Chris is so
What,
hot. Can you please tell him?
absolutely not what was said. Uh, as is a typical text or email I get from Dan, "Is there anything here?" I said, "Yeah, this is a great idea."
Oh yeah, is there anything here? I love those. Forwarding you when I want to outsource my thinking.
Yeah.
Hey, is there anything?
And I said, "This is a great idea. We should absolutely do this book." And here we are about 6 months later, finally doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe even longer, maybe even be close to a year now. I don't
And I
remember
think
for
I
sure.
think there's something there with, I think there's a need for it for our industry, but also I hope it translates to other industries because I think it's going to be simple enough and practical enough to, and like not so much fluff in there to where you can just kind of figure out what's important and what's not when starting a business. And like the adaptability one's a perfect example of things that contradict themselves within the chapter because it's like if you're listening to this podcast, you're like, well, so you're saying I should be adaptable, but I also don't need to be. And it's like, yeah, you're right. You're right. But I think ultimately you need to master that skill because there's times when you should ignore the market, especially if you have a good, solid reasoning in your vision. And there's times where you absolutely should not ignore
Mhm.
what you're seeing. And hindsight's 2020. That's a lot harder in the moment. And I think we all need more clarity when it comes to these things. And one thing people have going for them when they don't have success is an ego. And I think that's something that is a huge advantage for people that are starting out new companies, especially if they don't have, like, they're just coming from being an employee. So they've never really seen like real money. They don't have the ego yet because you don't want to end up like Circuit City, like Blockbuster, where you have hubris because you've been successful before. So now you forget all the fundamentals and ignore the signals when you're supposed to because you've you say, well, look what got me here, and I'm not going to change my ways. And that's a huge mistake too. And it's a disadvantage. And this is exactly why small companies sometimes become big.
Sure,
It's those
because
adaptability
sure
gaps
they're
that the other ones refuse to, that you could figure out those adaptability gaps yourself.
yeah, because they can pivot easily, right? Smaller companies. It's just like government. They're so overregulated.
Yeah.
They can't get anything done quickly. Whereas a
Hmm.
small company can pivot quickly, they can change direction quickly, whereas a large company cannot, because it's similar to a government.
Well, I like doing these podcast brainstorms because do you think we need a sixth virtue? I think we do.
What
Humility.
stability is that important? I mean, yes and no. I
Yeah,
mean,
like all the ver
you're thinking in terms of Steve Jobs, right? Both he lacked humility, which cost him initially, but ultimately that was his godsend.
Well, he was humbled when he was asked to leave, and then he came back, and that's when it became a
But
success.
was he humbled?
He was
See,
humbled. Yeah, no, he
I
was
don't
humbled.
know. Yeah, he says so. He said so himself.
He didn't say so, but if you read the book, he clearly took a ass whooping.
Sure.
That's humble. That's humil. That's humbling. I don't know if he became a humble person necessarily, but he was humbled.
Mhm.
He experienced humility.
So, do you think it's a detriment for
To not
for
have humility?
yeah,
Yes.
when starting a business?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not
I can't think of a time where it's not important to be humble.
well, see, I think, and maybe it's along the lines of what you're thinking, but I think you need to be able to recognize, which I guess would be humility. You need to recognize when you're not doing something correctly,
Yeah.
or you need to be able to recognize when you need to change direction.
So either humility is it's important enough to be its own virtue in our book, or it's a subset of adaptability. Your call, but
Yeah,
it's out there somewhere, or some form. It's got to be in the book.
sure. I would say that's more falling under adaptive, probably, because if you're not able to recognize, hey, I screwed up and I did something wrong, that's part of adaptive, right?
Yeah. It's
But
related to teachability. It's related. How many clients do we have? Thankfully, not most of them that are not teachable whatsoever. Like you even get frustrated. You tell me later, this person, they just they do not listen.
mhm.
They got a
Yeah,
hard head.
yeah,
That's a lack of humility.
probably 20%.
That's a lot. I
Mm.
was thinking more like 10 or 7.
No, it might even be higher than 20.
That's
It's
insane. Then that definitely needs its own chapter. If it's that high, I was thinking even if it's 7%, we consider it for its own chapter. If you're
well,
telling me it's that high, that
I
might need to be the title of the book.
I don't
Fuck
I
you, be humble.
nice book, nice title.
You
Nice
like that
book
one?
title.
I think it
Yeah.
would do well.
Uh yeah, I don't know. You're gonna need some asterisks in there.
AI, help us with this title. Maybe humility should be in the title. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just thinking out loud. That's what these brainstorming sessions are. But I think humility is required for adaptability. It's also required maybe for vision and maybe you can argue for more of the virtues too, but I definitely for those three.
Well, see, I just think there's words that are really offshoots of these categories, right? Like, for example, being realistic. Um, that could be off of adaptability.
Yeah.
Um,
But being realistic could be a detriment.
sure, as any of these things can be.
Mm.
They can be both positive and negative,
You need to be
right?
realistic when you and when the
It,
situation calls
it,
for it and
it's like adaptability. If you give
yeah.
up too easily because, oh, that's not working, I got to try something else, right? And you've given it 2 months maybe or less than that, well, maybe you don't need to give up.
So all these things, unfortunately, there is no blueprint for this is when you need to turn this one on, this is when you need to turn that one off. Because, and this is why those personalities come into play.
Yeah.
Because Not every personality is gonna push the same buttons at the same time.
Well, so see, this is what I meant by being realistic, though. You need to be able to look at your situation and understand, which, like you just said, and I completely agree, because I was thinking about this 10 minutes ago. That's unfortunate. You're not going to know, especially when you're new to business, what principle should I be focusing on here?
All of
Okay.
them.
No, I understand that, but like the example I just gave, adaptability. Just because you don't have immediate success doesn't mean anything needs to be changed.
Right.
Maybe you just need to kind of 10x what you're already doing, right? Maybe you're just not working hard enough. Maybe nothing needs to be changed,
Hmm.
right? I'm just saying, yes, there's a point in time where adaptability is crucial, being able
Yeah.
to change your direction.
Maybe just time hasn't been your ally for long enough yet.
Exactly. So, again, getting back to what you and I do in consulting, I get people all the time that after 3 months and they don't have a study, well, I'm going to hang it up. It's like, well, you know, like our initial call, you're usually looking at 4 to 6 months until you get your first study when you're research naive, and
Yeah.
oftentimes longer. Three
Yeah.
months isn't long enough.
Yeah.
So people are too easily give up.
Oh,
If
that's for sure.
it's not immediate, a lot of people are more inclined just to give up.
Well, that's where the vision is important.
Exactly. Exactly. And see,
But then do you adapt your vision? Because these things get recursive too.
yeah, I don't know. And like I said, there's so many
Because
different,
Blockbuster never adapted their vision. That
yeah,
was their problem, and that was due to a lack of humility. There's a famous story of the Blockbuster execs when Netflix was popping up.
mhm,
A junior um, vice president came into the boardroom and said, "Hey, Netflix, they're mailing people their DVDs. This was before streaming.
right.
They're giving people option to mail their DVDs." And Blockbuster executives laughed. There's all these old dudes. They pointed to a study that they sponsored and said, "Well, our focus group said people enjoy coming to the physical stores." And they laughed in the face of that data because they lacked so much humility that they would sponsor their own focus groups, basically leading people to choose the answers they wanted to see so they could share with each other at the
So
boardrooms.
it's really funny that you bring this up, because I just talked this over with Julie yesterday. Um, I can't remember what we were watching. I think it was Stranger Things, but
On Netflix.
yeah,
You're not
but
on Blockbuster.
sure. But
It
I
could have
did,
been on Blockbuster.
but I did say, because it's season 4 and two of the main characters are working in a video store. And I said to Julie, I said, "Do you miss that?" And she's like,
Hmm.
"What do you mean, miss what?" And I said, "Going to the video store to pick out a movie, right? When that was your only option."
Yeah.
And I said, "Because I kind of miss it,
Yeah.
because it's like it's something to do. It's like an
But it's
event,
sure, it's nostalgia.
right?"
But those things, so there's actually a market for nostalgia. Like I actually think if
Hmm.
somebody were to open a video rental store now, it would actually do well for nostalgia reasons.
Hmm.
But the question is who's going to gain more market share and what do people
Sure,
prefer more consistently? It's a
sure,
no-brainer.
sure. No, I don't disagree with that. But
Yeah.
I, the point was that there are things that, it just rekindles, like you said, nostalgia,
And
rekindles old events.
this is why the small become big, the big become small. Maybe if Netflix was smart, they would have in like cities where it made sense, like especially in cities where people are more lonely, like bigger cities. Like people go to the gym instead of working out at home. Why? It's because they want to get out. They want to see people. Like there's something to what you're saying. What if a startup does this now and for nostalgia purposes eats away some of Netflix market share? Netflix can just do that. Have like a few in some key markets, just physical stores.
Mhm.
Think they would do well. But this is where small get big, big get small. the new people come and say, okay, I see that's an adaptability gap. I'm gonna get in there and do it.
Mhm.
The goal's never to be as big as Netflix, but it's to capture some of this market, uh, and then eat away at the market share, which is how Blockbuster slowly lost to
Yeah.
Netflix.
Well, they still have two stores.
They do. I saw a documentary on that. I thought those last two were closed
No,
recently.
I think they still have two, or maybe
Oh,
one, maybe one.
I watched the documentary on that, ironically enough, on Netflix, about that Blockbuster's demise. But yeah, I do miss it. But would I prefer, like, if I were to go to Blockbuster again, would it be cool? Yeah. Now, every time I want to watch a movie, would that be cool? No.
Well, it's just everything.
Like, no, it's much better this way. It's just, is there room for that kind of experience? Yes. Because that's an
So,
experience, and that's an irrational experience to have. Because the
well,
logical thing is it's more convenient, it's cheaper, it's faster to do
well,
this.
here's why it's an experience though, because everything is so easy now when it comes to entertainment, right?
Yeah,
I can watch a movie now that's in theaters as of today. I can watch it on my TV at home now, right?
yeah, yeah.
It's like there is no event there, right?
There's no
It's
event.
whereas it before Netflix, before all of these things that you could stream at home, it was, hey, let's go get a movie, right?
Yeah,
Pop some popcorn and watch a movie, right? And it was an event because you actually had to go do it. Whereas at home,
yeah.
you can flip through 10,000 different things to watch, right?
That's true. And if you unpack, and this is why the cycle of business will never end, because every improvement creates its own inefficiencies at some point.
Mhm.
So
It's no
what's the
longer an
problem?
event. It's no longer an
Yeah,
event.
but at its core, what's the deeper problem with Netflix? Is it still a good stock? I suppose, but what's the deeper problem? In order to keep creating better and better and more content, you need to pay more and more and more money.
Mhm.
And what's coming up next? AI.
Mhm.
And who can use AI? Anyone. Who
Mhm.
can be the next Steven Spielberg? Literally anyone talented enough. They don't need
Well,
gatekeepers anymore. They don't need to suck Harvey Weinstein's dick.
mhm.
Like they can just do it themselves.
Well, I think it goes beyond that. I mean, from what I've watched, and I don't know how close we are to this, any individual will be able to make their own movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, and to their specifications, to their desire,
Well,
whatever the
Elon
case might
takes it a
be.
step further. Elon said you could be watching, he said in 20 years,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Go
you
ahead.
could be
I know where you're
watching
going.
a movie because
Yeah,
the AI is going to get so good, you can choose how you want it to end.
right. You watch it, you don't like the ending, and let's change
Yeah, you go
that.
back. So it's essentially like gaming mixed with movie
Yeah,
making.
yeah.
How's Netflix going to compete with that unless
They
they
can't. No
become
one can.
that?
But no one can compete with that.
But if Netflix would take some of their money and invest into these platforms so that people do it on their platform, that's the way they win, right?
Sure, sure.
But instead,
Make it more simplified for people to create their own content.
right, they're already there. The hard part's like
Yeah.
the education, right? Like how do you get people to know about you? Well, if you're YouTube, you don't need to worry about it. If you're Twitter, you don't need to worry about it because you have Grok. If you're even Gemini, which is Google, which is YouTube, but there's really only like three or four players that could even be in this conversation, or, and like always happens, some new startup that might do it because that's the only thing they got going. And
Yeah.
the problem with these bigger companies and the innovators dilemma is your own success is your demise because in order for you to continue to be relevant, you have to sort of kill your own core competency, which is what Google is doing with Gemini. Google makes way more money off the Google search results than off of Gemini. I don't think they're making money off of Gemini yet. But what are
Hmm.
they doing? They're putting a concerted effort to bring Gemini into the forefront of everything, to cannibalize their own business in order to grow it 5 years from now. And that takes humility to do.
Or intellect, or both.
Okay. Well, you can argue whether humility is intellect.
Well, I mean, it's part of vision, right? You can see
Yeah,
what's happening,
yeah,
and we need to change direction. So that's both adaptability and vision.
yeah. Netflix is doing a few things right to give them credit. They're getting into the live sports, the live fights,
Mhm.
but it costs them money. I mean, they got to pay hundreds of millions to host these things. And so how many subscribers do you need to in
Yeah,
order to justify that spending?
like the last season of Stranger Things is, I think they're spending like 40, I don't remember what I read, but it's a lot, like 40 million an episode or something.
And you know the first use case for any new technology is like porn, right? Like there's actually
First
an
use
interesting
case.
there's a
Well,
really interesting
it
article around this
it
stuff.
it surely was the benchmark for internet. I mean,
Internet for yeah for internet
there would be
for
no internet if we're not for porn, really.
exactly. So a lot of these people, a lot of these studios, they're like, well, we can't open source this and let the users create whatever they want because then, Angelina Jolie's gonna be turned into a porn star and she's not gonna sign up for that. And,
Sure.
so this is why it's hard for the incumbents to adapt, and rightfully so. I mean, who wants their likeness to be used at that? But that always creates opportunities for someone else.
Mhm. And just to close the loop, so there is one Blockbuster open
Wow.
still, and it's open tonight until 8.
Seriously?
Yep.
Where's that?
Bend, Oregon.
Wow. And it's wow, okay.
And it's been open since 1992.
Dope.
And Bend, Oregon, the population, since you were thinking open these up in big cities,
Yeah.
the population of Bend, Oregon is approximately 100,000.
I guess the big city would be bad the more I think of it because of the rent.
Yeah, that's not bad.
But the greater point is adaptability is pretty recursive. And
Yeah, no doubt.
you can't explain it without coming back to itself,
Mhm.
as is life itself. So, as is are all these virtues.
Yeah, one takeaway from our conversation today is it's unfortunate you're not going to have, probably not going to have someone to rely on to direct you in terms of, hey, where are my mistakes here? I mean, maybe you will, right? As an individual starting a
Right,
business,
right.
but unfortunately, a lot of this is trial and error.
A lot of it's trial and error, and the reason why this book should exist is because we've done it, and we think it can work beyond the research industry because these are principles that can apply to any business.
Oh, for sure.
And somebody should tell you at least for yourself so you can see like or you can at least be prepared for what's coming up in the future. And if you buy like a lot of these business books, a lot of these how-to books, I mean, yeah, they talk about certain kinds of these things, but we kind of distilled the most important ones from our experience into this book. And everything else is not that it's not important. I think you should, but I think these are the bare minimum for a foundation, for a healthy foundation.
So Dan's a new parent, um,
Ah, yes.
and sitting here
Surprised I haven't
thinking,
been called yet.
I'm sitting here thinking, as a parent, you
Kid's
want
a
to,
handful. The
sure,
kid's a handful.
but you want to reduce your children's pain, right? You would like to see them not make the mistakes you've made, right?
Yes.
Unfortunately, though, if you think back to when you were a child, you don't listen to your parents all that much.
No, and I could already see it in my little 10-month-old. So we're trying to teach him to walk, and he's standing up on his own for like 5 seconds or so.
Mhm,
And like we got him a little wagon to push, so
mhm,
and like I'll stand over him. And I think this is where the father comes in more than the mother.
mhm.
Because the mother is way too coddling. Like, they don't want him to fall. And I'm like, no, no, I actually do want him to fall. I don't want him to fall to where he's scared to try it again. And I'm not gonna let him smash his face on the ground. and he's got a little backpack on that'll cushion his blows if he falls backwards. But he's got to learn to fall because that's the only way you're going to learn how to get up and walk again. And
Yep.
so I
And
think you need that balance of like that I think that is controlled chaos. That dynamic there of like, okay, safety first, I get it, but
sure.
we're not the goal is not to reduce his failures. Like it's to reduce the catastrophic ones. Yeah, those are unnecessary. But I think there's a tremendous value in those micro failures.
And I don't disagree with what you're saying. And my point of bringing that up was these five characteristics are a good direction to follow for the most part.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, you're not going to be entirely prevented from making mistakes, and you have to learn how to overcome those mistakes,
Yeah.
just like a child does, right? Because they don't listen to their parent all the time, and they're going to make mistakes. It's
Yeah.
great if you have somebody, and I said this earlier, it's great if you have somebody that can kind of guide you if you're starting a new
Mm.
business, and they can offer you their insight. But unfortunately, even if they are in business, unless they're in the same business as you, you're not going to have that, right? So
Right. And then it becomes, can you trust them or why is this person even doing this?
certainly. So I guess it boils down to you're going to make mistakes. Absolutely. There's no avoiding that.
Mm.
But can you minimize those mistakes by utilizing these five characteristics? And I think you can.
I think that's well said. I would say maybe minimize the catastrophic mistakes.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause I'm
You're going
not
to make
sure you want to
mistakes.
minimize the small ones. I think those are actually valuable.
Well, I mean, sure, a minimal mistake isn't going to kill you, right?
I think a minimal mistake gets you better as long as it doesn't derail you too much. And then that degree of derailment is where it becomes catastrophic.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
It's just like teaching the kid how to walk. I mean,
Yeah.
there's
So understand when you're starting a business, you're a baby.
you're a baby. We're here to burp you.
Learning to walk.
And on the audiobook, Chris will sing you a lullaby.
Chris sure as hell
We
won't.
will get that. I promise you guys.
You're making a promise you can't keep. Well,
Let's
you could potentially can if you get me lipped, like on the floor.
Yeah, I'm aware.
I'm speaking drinking because I've never sang karaoke where I wasn't 10 deep, 10
Right,
drinks.
right. Yeah, we'll make it happen.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I guess that's it for adaptability. I mean, not sure.
Well, I think we could go on for 2 more hours about it, but yeah, I think we covered the primary aspects of it.
Well, good. Chris and Dan show was a real treat
A treat.
bringing you this.
What's your favorite candy bar?
When I was a kid, it was Score, but
S-
now it's Reese's Pieces.
Score. Do they even have those anymore?
SKOR.
Yeah, do they still have those? Oh, they do.
Yeah,
They do. I've had one recently. Yeah.
yeah. But now I like the Reese's Pieces Fast Breaks.
Uh, what about Reese's peanut butter cups?
Yeah, but the Fast Breaks are better.
Okay. So was this better than a fast break? You said it's a real treat.
Oh, well, Fast Break makes you feel bad afterwards. This makes you feel better.
From guilt or from just the sugar rush and coming down?
Guilt, carb crash, and yeah, stomach wise. This doesn't have any of those.
Ah, so it's a clean treat.
Yeah,
Got it.
and the AI is gonna process this properly and shit something good out.
Uh, okay. Well, when you read this, understand it's all shit.
AI slop.
AI shit it all out.
We do have a reaction if you want.
I asked my wife and hell until dinner.
We got comments. How long? How long? Oh yeah, so our pod's over anyways.
You're doing the karaoke now.
I mean, I don't mind doing it. That's not the problem.
Yeah, I do.
That's the